Hello there, everyone. Welcome to another episode here on Oxyotl, episode 13. And we start, of course, we declared war on Tzeentch. And we start. I'm skipping ahead a little bit more than in other playthroughs. More like to just streamline it, okay? So, of course, we were going to attack Tzeentch. And I just attacked Tzeentch. And you can notice that there was one turn to siege them up. That's why they have some casualties. And I'm going to fight the siege. It's actually not exactly the best siege to fight, because you're going to see one thing with the lizardmen is that they don't have, arc of fire weapons. So they're more of an army that should be able to breach walls rather than take them. But at the same time, they do have the blessed units, which have perfect vigor, which means they don't have an issue with climbing ladders. So it's kind of like that, yes and no. So they're infantry, they're really good at taking the walls, especially the Blessed Saurus, for instance. It's awesome. But the Chameleon Skinks don't have really too many targets. So it's more try to take the walls, make sure that you're careful with the enemies around, and you're not going to make a lot of damage to the enemy that is on the walls, just because you kind of have like handgunners here, really, with the Chameleon Skinks. But yeah. Overall, with Chameleon Skinks or the Skink Skirmishes, as I have here. So, overall, I'm sending the other army, the rest of my cavalry and hero, to that other side. I managed to dodge this, which is great. That's an ability from Tzeentch. An ability? No, that's not the ability, actually. Or is it? Can't remember. There's the battle ability, and then there's, of course, the typical spells. So I think in this case they have, that's that's the metal lore. That's for sure. There we go. So I do have the 3 summons, which can be very useful for this situation, as in to just keep them busy and to ensure that, these guys, it's just 1 less unit or 2 less units to fight. The only problem is that I'm attacking the Screamers, and the Screamers would be a great target for my skirmishers if they would try to fly off, if they would fly out, it would be a much better target than what I'm doing here. So, Saurus are now taking the walls. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit so that they climb up the walls. And now that's the great part. These guys don't take any loss of vigor. So the longer the battle goes, the better these guys are during the whole battle. And I'm actually approaching my skirmishers here. You notice that the Saurus are going, but there's some skirmishers there. That's because they were being targeted by the towers. Tzeentch towers are really troubling. So I'm going to use one more Chameleon Stalker here, hopefully getting this Exalted Pink and the other pink unit involved in battle so that they don't attack me. You see, there's a lot of pink fire and blue fire going on. I'm glad actually my Saurus all have shields, because you're going to notice as soon as I show that they actually don't have too many issues here with the fact of being constant under fire. Actually, I think that his Forsaken are suffering more. I mean, look at that. My 2 infantry units, 3 infantry units there, and they have lost barely nothing to that constant missile fire, So overall, yeah, I'm doing great. The Saurus are moving in. They're attacking these Forsaken, and they can deal pretty well with them. I really love the animation of the lizardmen, actually. Just the jump in, jump out sort of idea. It's really cool. Makes them kind of unique in that regard. There aren't many animations that go like this. But yeah, at this point they're just pushing the Forsaken over. It's amazing that they don't have the shield, but they still act like it when they are retreating. I guess it's fine. It's not that we should have a secondary retreating for non-shielded units. Doesn't really bother me too much. It's actually good for us to see. There's the bombardment from the Metal Wizard, from the enemy one. And now finally my Skink Skirmishers are doing the damage here from above, which is always a nice thing. As soon as you capture the walls, it should always kind of like be over for the enemy. And all you need is to ensure that your units are fine. So I entered with my my battering ram. Basically, I knocked over the gates. And now my Slan is arriving. Note that my Slan has that armor of 240. So he's no slouch in combat. There's no way he does damage because his melee attack is like 4 or something. But he's not going to have any trouble defending himself, ensuring that the enemy doesn't cause him too much damage. And that's exactly what you want for a Slan, just imagine this guy with 240 armor. It's like a bloody shield over there. So at this point, I'm just trying, and this is an advice for you guys, just try to damage every single enemy unit. If you see a unit that hasn't been damaged, knock over their shields or do something about that so that you can cause army losses as soon as possible. Either that or you start capturing points. You can always go for that. I always found it a little bit too cheesy, especially when you use a stalk unit, but it's perfectly fine way to play. It's just like a personal limitation that I like to do. This coffee is really good. Actually, sometimes you make the coffee and it's just a capsule, like an espresso, and it sucks. But sometimes you just nail it and it's hot exactly like you wanted, and it's really cool. So yeah, I'm glad I did a cup of coffee today. So I should have bombarded. I think I actually did bombard before I entered at the assault. And yeah, this is not to kill them. It's just, like I said, to cause damage. So if I knock over their shields, I'm already fine. Notice that he's already causing some damage. And I didn't notice that he's luring the enemy fire, the enemy tower fire. And when they miss, of course, they hit their own. So that's good as well. And that's the victory. There's always this... when it's... towers in siege battles, it always shifts a little bit how it happened, but that battle went over about that way. Like literally, I think there was like one pink unit on the other side when it shouldn't, and that's what caused the modification. But overall, this is how it happened. I'm gonna loot and occupy, and I think I'm gonna keep the buildings that are here. There's a special one, if not mistaken. Yeah, the research rate is more than welcome. Corruption in adjacent provinces just means that I won't have too much trouble with corruption. Growth is fine. There's no extra stuff. I could get a scrying pool, or I could get just some income. I mean, yeah, let's just get some income. Really need it. Alright, this Slan is doing just fine. By the way, I'm not improving his spells, mostly because I don't see too much of that necessity yet. All I want is for him to heal, and his army is really powerful. If it weren't, because, if he had an army focused on skinks, maybe I would invest a little bit more in the casting, but life is just one of those lores that as soon as you have some heal, and some level of damage, which he has, it's like, okay, dude, I'm perfectly fine until very late in the game to just have that. So I'm gonna try to see if Oxyotl can... Oh, it's already from them. Ooh. Okay, that means that I'm still not gonna be attacking Techless because I want a third army here. So let's have... I'm already going to tier 5 and it's 58 turns. I mean, that's quite fast. So these guys, they actually... The growth is quite fine, I'd say. You can do it faster, by the way, in terms of growing up the provinces or the settlements, for sure. There's some level of sieges, of cheese as well that you can use and stuff. But I'm happy if this is the natural progression of things. So you don't. So for you that like to take it, slow as well in the campaign map, it's a good campaign to actually feel like you're always improving your units and still progressing. It has a nice curvature of progression. This campaign with Oxyotl, I really like it. So this C that I'm putting, by the way, is precisely... Oh, it's already melee. I don't think melee is good. I'm going to put support, and you're going to be melee. So K-motor. K-motor. That's in Portuguese. It's hilarious. Fighter. I do this because if the enemy wounds my hero, I already know where he belongs. And sometimes it's difficult to know where he belongs. So this is Oxyotl's Oracle, and this is Oxyotl's Caster, and that's it. That way, I always know where they belong. The C I was talking about means complete. I'm not going to make any modifications to the army. All I'll do is replace the exact units that die. And especially the biggest challenge is how to incorporate the blessed units in your overall armies. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just use the blessed units like, oh, I can summon an army out of nowhere just to cover me, to defend. But I like to use the blessed units, so I like the fact that I don't have to focus perhaps so much in recruiting. I don't have to be worried about how much local recruitment I have or lowering global recruitment costs or anything like that. I just, use the blessed spawnings as regular units. Yes, indeed, we could trade with Teclis, but I really don't want that. I want to take any deals that I can. A defensive alliance, I'm always wondering. It does interfere with the geomantic web. I think that later on, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to enter an alliance. But I was, uncertain whether I should go or not. Because it's just 2 settlements, I could take them out, And I really want to go contiguous terrain on this set, because I really want to conquer the whole map with Oxyotl and see how many turns I can do it. So we are actually going to betray Teclis right now. I think so. Because I can conquer it with Oxyotl and then do the movements, because right now we have some new visions of the old ones. So yeah, here's Felindre. He cannot reach, which is perfect. Yeah, he cannot reach, that's perfect, and we can attack. And then this guy is going to hold the ground. Another hero here. Yeah, I can defend this settlement here. Construction cost, that's always nice. Well, let's travel. Let's wait for the other one instead. Because the problem is always... Oh, yeah. I can fight it out. Should I decisive victory? He has some interesting units. I kind of want to see how well this army does. Even if it is an auto-resolve, sometimes I like to see it. So the reason why I have my skirmishes to the other, to the end, is because that's where the demonic units are, and that's the mortal units. That's where I'm going to send the chameleon stalkers and the red crested skinks. My melee infantry, and then I have my Bastiladons with revivification crystals and with solar engines, just distributed so that they can fire. And of course, the Bastiladons will engage the cavalry units. And I think so. And you're going to see I'm going to demolish some, because that solar engine, in this sense, is going to do so much damage, because, it just goes across the enemy and does a lot of damage. Man, this fog that is created because of the fire looks so cool. What do I have here? A chain lightning. Yeah, imagine if you're ambushed like this. Everyone is poisoned suddenly. Half your force is destroyed. And the other half is just fighting units and getting pummeled by the solar engines. Oh goodness. And now I have a comet. I think it's a comet of Caçadora. It was, and I didn't show it. Oh my god, I'm so sorry guys. I didn't notice while I was recording for the best moments. I didn't notice, I'm so sorry. But it was a comet. How did I miss that? Oh, you're not a good YouTuber, Victor. You're not. No, how could I miss a good perfect spell? Sometimes I showcase the ones that shouldn't. I show my failures and not my wins. But okay, I guess that's fine. So, of course, an ambush is always easy. It's always not easy. Sometimes you get surprised a lot, but it's always the best case scenario where you can fight these units, these enemies, especially higher powered units, because of course the advantage of being able to take them. I can replenish in full, which means that I can easily go for the next vision. One thing that I should have done is done this the last, but okay. Some more regiments of renown, more blessed cold one spear riders. That's excellent. I think I can use that for the armies in the Badlands. And getting the reduced upkeep is so important with the skinks as well, because they're already very cheap army. That means that you can have like a couple of cheap armies right from the start. They're quite effective, as you've seen, and you get income. You know, I'm actually happy with the income overall. This campaign, the first turns and first episodes, I'm very happy with the ratio between armies needed and income. Of course, you can always have more armies in play in the red, by all means, and you could do this with Oxyotl, you know, just be at war with everyone and conquer everywhere. But note that this is already with the changes for the AI. And the biggest issue that we have with the AI is that it's now creating this sort of situation where sometimes it will have a lot of armies to fight with, or it will develop really fast. So that's something that I'm having to be careful with. Okay, I don't have any chameleon skinks to hire, so we're gonna hire one. And Oxyotl, do I need to move him, or do I need... No, I need to teleport him to another vision. Yeah. So we haven't declared yet war here on Teclis. I thought it would be perfect to declare war. I don't know why I stopped. You know, because in retrospective, I always do this. I always record my voice a little bit after I've recorded the and of course I leave notes, even if it is just with the mouse saying talk about this. You know, right now I'm just recruiting another army because why not? I have the money for it, and it's one of those things that stopped being a problem, which is the what's it called? Oh, tip of my tongue. The supply lines stopped being a problem, so now you can recruit lords all the time, and now it's a problem on the other side, because it doesn't really reflect the challenge that should be in a legendary campaign, because legendary now in terms of supply lines for Warhammer 2 is like normal. So let's fight instead. Let's fight the battle with Lord Croak. I was thinking of stopping the episode here, but let's have a higher episode and let's free Lord Croak.
His worldly relics are in imminent danger. While Croak's force field provides him with some protection, the awakening process leaves him vulnerable to attack. It is imperative that you defend him until he has fully risen from his slumber.
There we go. It's time to defend Lord Croak. So one line of the chameleon skinks over there, and then I have of course the stalkers and other units here distributing the Bastiladons as kind of like cavalry, you know, especially the revivification crystals, because they can go on the flanks. That will mean that I always have one available to heal anyone. You know, they can cover the whole front line, let's say. And if the enemy has anything that goes on the flanks or sends something, then it's fine. So, sending some fireballs here, that's good. It's not exactly... It's just to do some damage, some level of damage, and just to ensure that, you know, I can spend some of the bounce spells. Perhaps I could choose better targets, but still, I always like to at least spend it out. I think I'm going to completely whiff this one, or not. No, actually, that's a nice chain lightning. You know, it's going to do some level of damage, and the enemy is not exactly going to move past this. And now my chameleons are starting to fire. Ah, that was a whiff. That was a miss. I thought I could catch them, but no. So, that Flock of Doom was great, and all of these spells are doing great. Solar engines are now firing, and I can retreat my chameleon skinks. And I mean, Lizardmen are not really thought of being a ranged faction, but they totally feel like that. Especially with Tzeentch, Oxyotl, who focus a lot on the skinks. You can play this style so easily. You know, the skirmishing style, it's so fun to do. And even against armies that have artillery and stuff, you can always do this. There's other ways to reach the enemy artillery, you know. Like summons, for instance, it's always excellent. And you have that with Oxyotl. Especially with that army ability. That's an army ability from one of the sacred places, so you have to invest on that, but still. That was awesome. So yeah, there's his infantry, at least at this point, is just Clan Rex and Skaven Slaves, so he's not gonna get through. I'm even sending my Skinks to attack, which is so cool because, you know, usually you cannot pursue Skaven, and you can with the Skinks, you know? I don't think they're faster, they're about the same, so that's fine. Yeah, breath attacks, the AI still doesn't know how to do them wisely. But others, the AI is doing really great, actually. Bombardment spells and vortex spells, the AI is casting them perfectly right now, actually. Buffs as well, debuffs. I'm enjoying seeing this. And I don't know if it's the breath or wind spells that they haven't done. I think the breath spells they're doing well, but the wind spells they're not. So if it is classified as a wind, then they don't do well. Oh, that was a solar engine for just one dude. Oh goodness. Okay, my chameleon skinks. This is also important that you recover. Okay, you always have to go back and recover when you're doing this sort of thing. Because if you spread out your forces too much, you may fall into some issues. So my solar engines are attacking. My fireballs are being casted. I'm sending the fireballs, by the way, to the enemy lord. And so far, he's taking some damage, which is always nice. I think I'm even going to send my flying hero just on him to continuously attack him. I think that's a comet. Yeah, there we go. Now that was a little bit of a better comet. It hit some units, especially the missile units. And now we have Hell Pit Abomination trying to come over. But I mean, this is the sort of target, as you can see, you can target with the solar engines and even with the chameleons and hardly damage your own units. So it's perfect, actually. The rat ogres too. It may feel like I'm, you know, really bad in terms of the melee department, but stalkers are so unpredictably good. You know, you don't realize how good they are, especially after Oxyotl buffs them a little bit, you know. So yeah, currently the third wave is showing up, and I'm nearly done with the second wave. I think only the Lord is going to survive, and a few others. The Hell Pit is going to be destroyed very soon with all my chameleons firing on her. Yeah, there we go. And even though they are attacking my missile units, you know, with a single entity monster, look how well they defend themselves. Because of all those stats, buffs and everything, even chameleon skirmishers can, the chameleon skinks can hold on really well. So I was trying to see, because they have a lot of leadership, and I remember that there's a buff here. Yeah, there we go, melee attack and leadership. Yeah, unit is Skaven. So that's why it's so difficult sometimes to bring these armies down, because they will have that. I didn't know if they had that on in the beginning immediately, you know. But yeah, that's going to be it for the second line. And now for the third, I'm going to get reinforcements, and that's why you see me retreating, recovering, putting my units back, and just ensure, you know, always take the defensive, slow approach if you can. Yes, the enemy has some cannons, but I have a Skink Priest of Heavens, I have some summons, if not mistaken, already, and I can do that, you know? And if not, well, I can just deal with some of these units, like this Doom Wheel. I think it's going to die very soon, especially with all that missile firepower. Yeah, it's doing... That's Lord Croak, by the way. It's already almost half health. That's nice. I don't know why they're firing here. I think there was one unit there. Yeah, that's not necessary. That spell was completely whiffed. But okay, I guess it's fine. I'm attacking the rattling gunners and just keeping them, away from issues. And all that I want is for the enemy, my friendly temple guards to move in. Now I can fight. Because then they can soak in the initial charges, the initial damage. He's still not attacking with the artillery. Finally he is. And he's going after my Troglodon. That's okay. My Skink Priest got Howling Warp Gale. But that's fine as well. No matter how much damage he does, he's always going to lose the battle. I'm just trying to ensure that I don't lose tremendously, or any units here. So that's another one from Croak, and now it's much more effective. It doesn't damage my line, so yeah. You see the damage only affecting the enemy. It's so cool when this happens. And look at that. Enemy line, those are stone vermin, and immediately back. I'm attacking the rattling gunners, sending my flyer to the enemy catapults and warp fire. So that's good. Actually, he's gonna keep them busy, but he's not gonna attack them properly because he's attacking the artillery piece. So it's derping a little bit around here. It's like, oh, come on. Let me attack this. No, let me attack the guys shooting it instead. Come on, don't derp. Come on, it's here. Oh. I need to practice a little bit the flying, says the skink. But yeah, as soon as the enemy front line collapses, of course, the rattling gunners are under attack almost immediately. I think they fired like a couple of shots here and there, but they were always under the skirmish point where I was attacking them and they couldn't deal with it. So especially armor-piercing units are so important against these guys because they do have armor, actually. So it's not like one of those that you can send just the weakest unit and you can defeat them. Sometimes the armor makes it completely different. So there's already some flayers here. I think as soon as I attack them, the enemy routes. Oh yeah, I'm trying to cast a spell here just to see if it will cause the rout, and indeed it does. It gives me the army losses. So we defended Lord Croak, lost no units whatsoever, and yeah, it's been a nice episode, but a very lengthy one. Would you believe this is just one voiceover? I don't have, I've been talking the whole 30 minutes. Ugh. It reminds me of the streaming sessions. So, fellow Carnosaur, Lord Croak. So Lord Croak, he's going to go in the secondary army. This is something that I always advise because Croak, people put it on the legendary Lord, and I'm fine with that. But he can shine on his own on the second army. So all legendary Lord heroes, I like to use them on secondary armies from the legendary Lord, of course, because it for me it just makes sense. It's an army that suddenly becomes way more powerful because of Lord Croak there, because of that legendary hero, of course, and you can let him shine there while your legendary Lord, of course, is already good. So now I have two good armies instead of just a great one. But of course, if you're going like a Doomstack approach or something like that, or an elite stack, of course you may want to do slightly different. But okay. Let's see, I have quite some gold, but all that I see in terms of buildings is actually the ones that don't interest me too much. Yeah. So I don't think that's essential here. So let me resume a little bit. There's some stuff that I need to defeat. And, yeah, let's build some Silent Sanctums around. Mostly what I want is to prepare invasion. That's why I have upkeep reduction. That's why I have, replenishment there, or attrition reduction, so that I'm planning to attack those places and I can take them to myself, And that won't be, that soon, but I can try to at least go and prepare the situation while I have the money and the sanctums to deploy. Yeah, I could get a defensive alliance with Khemri. I mean, likely the followers of Nagash, it sounds like they have the advantage. So maybe I don't want to get into a defensive alliance because he's going to win. He has 20 sentiments by now. Yeah, it's much more powerful. They're going to win. So if I ally them, all I'm going to do is put the followers of Nagash against me. But yeah, that was a lengthy episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.